when I was thinking about this talk, I actually went back over a bunch of presentations that I've given in the last year about LES Online, and none of them really fit this venue. So what you're going to see today is a whole hodgepodge. Things, pieces snatched from other presentations, plus some more content that I put in here that I thought would be more relevant to the group here today. But I'd like to run this as well as a discussion. I do tend to speak very quickly, so if you want to ask a question, just holler. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is tell you just a little bit about LES Online, what it is, and importantly, why we decided to launch LES Online. And then I'm going to focus more on our approach to designing online courses. And if there are other things you want to talk about, I'd be happy to do so. So first of all, what is LES Online? Okay, well, LES Online is about 2 years old now, actually as of this coming summer. And it is an initiative to convert our high enrollment, high demand courses, plus many certificates and programs into a fully online format. We also do blended instruction, but the big push really has been fully online. So then there's the question of why. To be honest, LES was kind of late coming to this whole online education game. We do a lot of blended in the college, but really not much fully online, with the exception of NetMath, which was actually, I think, the first on campus. You even beat GISLIS out. So, why did we decide to do it? So our number one goal is really access. And here, really primarily, I'm talking about access for our own students. And in that way, LES Online is kind of unique. There are quite a few online programs on this campus. We are the first that really targeted our own students. So why do they struggle with access? Well, we have a lot of very large, primarily gen ed courses in this college, and they are completely oversubscribed. We have long wait lists every single semester. Students can't get into the courses when they want to. And what has been happening over the years, because we look at all of this data, we are running into a situation where more and more students were adding on an extra semester. Because they just couldn't get courses when they wanted to. And that's primarily in these kind of, very, very packed curricular areas, the sciences primarily. So we, focused initially on these very high enrollment gen ed courses to take them online to give some scheduling flexibility. So students could take these courses, from wherever they wanted and essentially whenever they wanted. So primarily targeting our own students, but also a goal was to reach populations, off campus, beyond our current students. And we now actually bring in quite a few students from community colleges, and we have a professional student cohort as well.
Deanna?
Yep.
Those other students, is that primarily targeted at people that would be then transferring here, or is it also for people that never intend to come to the university?
Both. And actually, I'll cover that first one in a second here, because, this is our master's, online master's in health communication. I just put this one in here because this one actually is one of our few online programs that is exclusively for non-UIUC students, although that may change because of interest on campus. But this targets actually a professional audience, primarily nurses and doctors in Chicago, and it's proved to be a very, very popular program. The other very big goal for us was to promote the retention and success of transfer students. That kind of speaks to what you just asked about, Jonathan. For many years now, we have been tracking our transfer students. And actually, many of you know that the number of students transferring here from community colleges is growing significantly. Rising tuition costs, more and more students are going to community colleges, two-year institutions for 2 years, and then transferring in here. So we've been tracking them, and what we were finding is that in some areas, the students were not doing very well. And primarily the areas you might anticipate, the STEM areas, the science, technology, engineering, math disciplines. So, one of our ideas was to develop online courses to help those students transferring in here, to help them make a successful transition. We now have a number of what we call bridge courses. We have some in biology. We actually have one in math. It was sort of a Calc 3 prep course that was developed here. We have one that's coming online very soon in economics, and we have another one in poli-sci. And we have some others that we want to develop. We just haven't gotten to them yet. So helping our transfer students was a big deal. And we've actually had some of these courses out there for a while, and we're now tracking those students. They've now transferred onto campus, and we're tracking them to see how well they're doing in these upper level courses. And we've got a year in now, and actually those students, comparatively, if you compare students, with the same GPA coming in, without these bridge courses, they are doing really, really well. So we're hoping that this is because of the bridge course experience.
Yeah.
Yep, George.
Semantics. When you use the word online, does that include or exclude blending?
Actually, this talk I'm primarily talking about focusing on fully online.
Okay.
We do blended, but yeah.
No, I mean, it wouldn't do any good if these were blended.
Right, exactly. So this is primarily fully online. The other goal is actually to meet demand, right? So,
just one other question about the bridge courses. So those would not fit within any degree program here, would they? Are they sort of preliminary to that, or possible that they?
They are right now, So right now, no. There are discussions underway to actually have these to be sort of credit bearing for the degree program. In biology is thinking about doing that. But right now, these are mostly taken by the students over the summer before they get here. We made this optional for the students. And actually, one way that we approached it in biology was we sent transfer students, just through email, a little quiz. So we're not going to grade you on this, but you should take this quiz. And then we would say, if this was your performance, if you got this score or lower, we really recommend you taking this bridge course. But like I said, it was optional. And now, because of the success they're seeing in terms of how well those students are doing, the school actually wants to mandate some of these bridge courses for the students. So.
I know math has at least one course that's like intended for people transferring in. It's like 1 hour or 291 or something. 292. Are there equivalent things in other departments, and is this instead of that, or as a replacement, or would it be that?
Where we have done, built these bridge courses, there wasn't an alternative. So we're not replacing anything right now. We're actually filling a gap, filling a need. Like I said, the other thing was to meet demand. When we started talking about LES Online, we kind of were assuming that students were interested in online courses, but it's like, okay, is this a correct assumption? So we actually ran a bunch of student surveys, and we reached out to all the students on campus. Our Gen Ed courses serve all of them, so we hit every college and, conducted these pretty broad surveys. We actually got a very good response rate. And we were actually blown away. We were pleased to see that students indeed are very interested, our own students, very, very interested in fully online courses. But we were actually surprised to find about how many of our students, at least the ones who responded to the survey, it was a good response rate, how many of them are actually already taking online courses from elsewhere. It was about 30% in one of our surveys, and that did surprise us.
You said elsewhere, yeah. How many of these are like people that are already taking LES Online or NetMath? Or?
We didn't have LES Online at the time. This was prior to us deciding whether we wanted to do it or not.
When you say elsewhere, that would be?
Going home over the summer and taking them from various community colleges, taking them actually, we had a bunch who were taking them at Loyola, and so basically other institutions. This is where, and other online courses from other institutions. So some of them, they were,
Why are they taking them concurrently with being enrolled as full-time students here?
Because they were at home
over the
working
summer.
in the summer.
Oh, over the summer?
Yes.
Oh, these were.
Yeah. But we actually did have some students who were taking them during the semester. So they were already, and I shouldn't use this word because you talk about blended courses, that's what I mean here, but they were blending their career here. So in other words, they were taking, here during the fall and the spring semesters, and they're taking face-to-face. They're also taking fully online from Florida.
restricts the number of hours you can take,
Yep.
and some students are in a hurry.
Yes, and we're seeing that grow, actually. We have students now who are really pushing the boundary of hours. Yeah,
Banner only restricts it, you can get a signature to get it waived.
you
right?
can.
Because we have a large number of students in math now taking more than 24 hours
Yes.
a semester.
But
Yes.
you have to have a department
Yeah, you have
Yep.
to go
likes
get the
doing that.
advisors
Try
to
doing
tell
that
you.
in psychology.
But so it was
Yeah.
mostly for sort of mundane reasons like that, not that UIUC doesn't offer courses in things they're interested in and they have to go elsewhere to get them.
I mean,
Was that ever cited as a reason for taking online courses?
No, I mean, I think the reason is just they can fit courses in to their schedule. In other words, they can get out a little bit earlier. Again, maybe pressure from parents, rising tuition costs. But actually, because a lot of students like online courses. They are increasingly learning this way. They're very comfortable online. And this is, after we ran these surveys and said, okay, we definitely need to do, online, we formed a student advisory board. I actually just put out a call and said, volunteer, do you want to be on this board? I got like 76 kids sign up. And I did run it with that many the first year, and after that said never again. But that was actually really great because I learned other things from that board, and it really was a case of, there's the whole flexibility and scheduling, but it really is a case of we like them. And especially, I mean, they're very particular, and we got this out of the surveys too. We asked, what kinds of courses would you like to see online? It's as you would expect. These sort of large intro, gen ed kinds of courses, electives. When it comes to these smaller majors courses, at first, actually, we were hearing, leave those face to face, which was kind of what we anticipated, although that's kind of changing too.
When you say gen ed, do you mean all gen ed courses, including, for example, composition? Composition?
We have gen ed courses in all categories now. We do have some composition courses fully online. Those have been our most challenging, that and the languages. Everything else, actually the sciences have done beautifully online, the more quantitative disciplines. Just about everyone has actually, except for the composition, where we're making progress, and languages. So, and also, sorry, George, anything else?
No.
Jonathan.
Just
Thanks. I'm glad to hear it because I'm floating the first Comp 2 math course online with 0 students so far. That's because you don't advertise.
Should be easy.
I am now.
So are the majority of the people that are taking courses online while students here, are they then getting transfer credit for that credit to apply
If
towards
it's a
it?
U of I course, there's no transfer.
Because that's a...
Yes, sometimes. And
I'm talking about people that are not taking LIS online.
yes,
Oh, elsewhere.
but that's where we're running into problems. Those courses do articulate. That credit is accepted here, but in fact, they don't articulate well. That's what we're seeing in some of these areas.
LIS online courses don't?
No, ours do. But I'm talking about these. I think you're referring to the ones that they're taking elsewhere.
Loyola doesn't.
And
are they not checking that beforehand, or are they checking that it
It's hard to
articulates,
get
but it's
that.
not a good correspondence?
they, all they do is look at here are the, the institutions and the courses that we can take, and for the transfer to be, the credit to be transferred over. They just look at the list, right?
So when you say don't articulate well, you mean they get the credit, but they may not have learned the material in the order that they want you to fit into courses.
Exactly. And especially, like I say, in these areas, the sciences. Those courses were not articulating. And what was happening here, for example, in my school, biology, the advisors, were trying to do their best by the students and saying, you're not going to make it in the upper level courses, go back and take the first course. But of course, these students had already done 2 years in the hope that they would not have to do that. So we were in this awful situation that we just had to do something about. And I just put up here, this is, you read the Chronicle, all these, listservs, etc. Sloan Foundation has been big in online education since the 90s and is still big in online. They've run many, many, many surveys. And the growth in online is phenomenal compared to the growth in sort of, traditional higher ed. So things are changing. Our demographics are changing too. And then obviously we have other goals as well. Improve the quality of instruction. You may say, well, aren't our courses high quality? Yes, but we do have some very high enrollment courses, and there's only so much active learning you can do in a class with 750 students. You know, it's hard in some of these high enrollment. We can actually get a lot more interaction and active learning in online than we can in some of these very high enrollment courses. You know, and to contain the cost of delivery in some of these areas.
Excuse me. I mean, is the sort of question of all of the questions inherent in academic labor issues, is that incorporated into the question, into the point on containing cost?
Yes. Yeah, because we've gone through budget cuts, and you know, graduate student TA, you know, budgets have declined, and you know, we're trying to figure out ways to still deliver the same quality of instruction, but maybe with fewer staff, etc. So all these things are figured in. Yeah. So that was one way. I mean, some courses did, you know, take cuts in their TA staff, and that was hard. Yeah. So, you know, obviously we're always thinking about, you know, serving the students, the benefits, decreased time to degree completion, okay, very important. Reduce costs, and this was a big thing about them going home over the summer. You know, and actually the first summer we had the online courses, the best feedback I got was a parent who came to me and said thank you, because they were struggling. And it was like, thank you for putting, you know, these courses online, because I really need my daughter to come home, get a job, kind of help us out a little bit. But it would be great if she just doesn't have to kind of put, you know, education on hold, if she can take a few courses at the same time. They don't have to pay rent for her to stay down here over the summer, go home, get a job, and all these good things. And, you know, also benefits, they actually, many of them prefer to learn this way. Some, it's difficult, but there are many who can and do learn very well in online.
Excuse me, Deanna. Do you have any breakdown of like who is optimally situated to take an online course? Characteristics of the student? Can you identify those ahead of time?
That's a great question.
The SIU, isn't it? The index of success?
Oh, we are gathering that data. That's something where you need the history. And so we are getting to a point where there are certain characteristics now. We also see that actually there is a gender difference in terms of...
Women do better online than men, yes, 100%.
Yeah. And we're seeing that.
20%.
Yeah. We're seeing that.
20% better.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, you know, it's kind of interesting. So we're starting to collect that data, Bruce. That's the kind of thing we're very, very interested in. And I'm hoping that pretty soon we'll have more data where we can, you know, also draw some more conclusions about who does better.
Share that with us.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that one of the things we're doing when we notice that certain demographics maybe are struggling a little bit online, we're trying to identify ways to help them. Right, and a lot of it, of course, as you know, comes down to structure, and engagement, right? So, John?
You're doing, it's not rolling enrollment in LAS Online, right? It's semester-based?
We have both, actually. We have some courses that are rolling enrollment. Most of it is, you know, 8-week, you know, semester-based courses, yeah.
I'm just curious if you have some rolling enrollment, whether some of it is flexibility, like they decide halfway through the semester they drop a couple of courses, it's too late to add another one. They could, I don't know. I'm just wondering if that's a...
I think one should remove the word semester-based, because 8 weeks also includes the first 8 weeks in the summer and the last 8 weeks, 8 weeks all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
I think term.
Right, right. No, you're right.
structured.
Because there are some as well that are 10 weeks, and we have some that are continuous 8 weeks, and we have some that, you know, actually have a break. I mean, it's just, it's all over the place right now in terms of different kinds of terms, and yeah.
The other side of the sort of instructional table from Bruce's question, you mentioned that one of the goals was improving instruction. Is data gathered? Are there metrics for judging improvements in instructional techniques?
I will be talking about that actually, because that is one of the things we're very, very interested in doing. So where are we at right now? These actually aren't all of our courses. This is just some of them. And the only reason some of them are highlighted because they happen to be the ones that were being taught that particular summer. But we have right now 76 courses that are fully online. Most of them are standalone courses. And I should point out we've got a lot in development as well. But we now have 5 certificates, fully online certificates. We have 3 fully online masters. And we actually are going to launch the first fully online major this fall. That was actually something that we inherited from Global Campus. It wasn't, they hadn't developed anything, but they had gone through all of the, maybe I'll just leave it at that. We developed it, and we, it's actually, although we shouldn't refer to it as a degree completion program, it's the way we think about things. It is a degree completion program. There are a lot of associate degrees coming online now in environmental sustainability. And so they wanted those students to be able to transfer here and to get the full degree. So it's a major actually in environmental sustainability. We're actually very excited about it. It's led to quite a few now community college partnerships, which we're really looking forward to.
Deanna, I'm seeing a lot of 500 level courses up here. Can you talk about that?
Masters. Those are our masters ones. So this is one of our masters. Actually, I've got two of them up here. Masters in Health Comm, the Masters in Teaching of Biology. So those are 500 levels. This one targets teachers, teaching of biological sciences, actually. So 500 level. And the Health Comm one is the one that targets a professional audience.
So I have two questions about that. The first one is, are those taught concurrently with a class on campus, or are they fully online, and how often are they taught? And second, sort of in conjunction with that, have you found, or do you anticipate issues with getting more than 3 students per term? I mean, getting a critical mass of the course to make it.
Well,
Right.
is there
This one is, I mean, these are both fully online masters. Now, for these ones, we don't right now have continuous enrollment. We have, cohorts. So we admit a cohort in the spring. We admit a cohort in the fall. The Masters in Health Comm, when it first started, they were just doing the one cohort. They were wondering what really are the enrollments, what the audience out there for this. And we've already gone to 2 cohorts on that. It is growing very nicely. But that's really very much on this,
So they have
twice a year.
Curriculum. It's you're going to take this the first semester, this
Yes.
the second semester.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
Have you thought about 500 level classes that aren't in that sort of structure?
you mean?
In terms of just offering an online, in math we have an algebra class that every grad student has to take.
Right,
500.
right.
Not to say that that one would go online, but equivalent ones from other departments where they have 1 or 2 gateway courses. Have other departments within LAS been thinking about putting their
Advanced courses online?
500 level courses?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why I said, originally, based on the feedback we were getting from the students, we were thinking it would be primarily our intro courses. We are actually seeing more departments coming in and saying, well, actually I have a 400 level or 500 level course I want to take online. And, for many different reasons. Sometimes it's a case of there are just difficulties with teaching that in a face-to-face, setting, or, because of field work. Where a lot of the time the students actually can't be physically here. I mean, they need to be off somewhere in the field. So, many different very good reasons for why now some of these more advanced courses are going online. Yeah. We're also seeing, some of these, a lot of the courses that we're taking online are existing courses that are being converted. We're also now seeing a lot of people coming up with new ideas for courses, that I think would lend themselves very well to online. And so we're seeing what's happening is we're developing them for fully online, and then they're bringing them back into the traditional setting. So we're now doing the reverse, which is pretty interesting. And they make actually for beautiful courses in the classroom because they come in inherently with a lot of engagement and interaction, which is really nice. So kind of that's where we're at in terms of development. So now what I wanted to talk about was kind of some of the challenges. I mean, NetMath has been around for a long time. You know a lot about the challenges of...
It's a very familiar picture.
Yeah.
The concept.
Yeah, right. So there were 2 ways to kind of take this course, this presentation, and I've spent a lot of time talking about the administrative challenges to doing this, but I decided that wasn't where I was going to focus this talk, although I am certainly happy to talk about those if anybody's interested. Suffice to say that LES Online broke a lot of services on campus. And you can say, well, there's been a lot of online programs before you. Why did LES Online suddenly break everything? Well, 2 reasons. One is because we were targeting our own students.
What is it that you broke?
A lot of services like registration, the whole admissions process, we kind of brought that to its knees. Things like a lot of requirements, like residency requirements and all kinds of things like that. A lot of things had to be rethought. So one is because we're targeting our own students as well as off-campus students, but primarily our own. which was something that was unusual. And the other reason is our sheer scale. I mean, you know, before these courses, these online programs had been quite small. And so if people were having to do something a little bit differently, they could manage that. And all of a sudden, we bring in many thousands of students in this online environment, and it really did cause a lot of problems. So anyway, administrative challenges. But what I wanted to focus on more was, I think, sort of some of the academic challenges, right? I mean, how do you build a pedagogically strong, you know, online course? Now, you know, the people that were working with me, and there were only 3 of us when we decided to do this. I mean, 2 of us had done a lot of teaching, and, you know, I had done a lot of online content creation and delivery. So my course was very, very, very blended. And I'd even developed online labs and, you know, for non-majors and this kind of thing. So I thought, well, okay, I know something about online, but there is a big difference between blended and fully online. There's a lot more things that you need to think about. So we sort of came into this saying, well, okay, you know, we know that we want to mix it all up. We know we want many diverse types of media, you know, in addition to the text and the PowerPoints. You know, we'd like video in there and interactive simulations and, you know, podcasts and, you know, real case studies and all this thing. We knew we wanted all of that in there. We knew we wanted really good formative assessment, you know, so the students can figure out how well they're doing, what it is they're understanding or not. We knew we wanted it to be interactive, you know, actually even more important online, right? I mean, although in these really large enrollment classes, there are a lot of students who have no problem reading a newspaper in front of you, at least for the majority of them, when the instructor's kind of looking at you. You kind of feel like you need to look like you're paying attention. But of course, when, you know, they're not, you know, they're at a distance, sitting in their dorm room or whatever, there's so many distractions. I even know this when we're on kind of video conferences or, you know, doing the Cisco meeting place thing. I'm usually very distracted by, you know, in my office or whatever. So, you know, make it interactive, make it engaging, you know, and very, very importantly, a lot of structure, especially because we were targeting a younger student population, and especially for you, I mean, you're actually with students, high school students, you know, you have to have a lot of structure to keep them on track. And so
Before you move on,
yep.
The synchronous component. Can you talk about, I mean, it's different for every discipline, but what courses have you found that have had almost no synchronous component and they've been successful? How have people tried to add a substantial synchronous component and it hasn't helped? I mean, that's to me the sort of area that's fuzziest to me about how you put stuff online.
You know what, when we went into this, because of some feedback that we got from the surveys, which, you know, I asked this question, what frightens you about taking an online course? The number one thing that they said was that we'll never get to interact with the instructor, that we'll never see anybody, we're going to be out there all on our own, you know, and if we have problems, nobody's going to help us. So when we started to create and build these online courses, I was pretty, you know, strong in terms of saying, we want all of our online courses to have a synchronous component. We use Illuminate. You do here, right? Yeah. And so I would say 90% of our courses when they rolled out already had Illuminate. Now, there were different applications or different uses of Illuminate, and some were more effective than others, right? There was one course that didn't use Illuminate for various reasons. That was our least successful course the first time out, which was interesting. And there may be other reasons for that, but there was certainly that, you know, they didn't use it and they were not as successful. So, you know,
that's what you mean by synchronous.
What's the cardinality there too? Is it one instructor and all students in a like a discussion section, or is it like we have with NetMath where you have a mentor and you have one or a small number of students interacting in some, it's all over the map?
All of the above. And like I said, I've seen some really, really effective uses of Illuminate.
Can you say something about the really effective ones?
Okay,
I mean,
sure.
In my experience, the experiment that I did, Pat was a great help with that. The Illuminate component was the least successful.
Okay.
Well,
sure.
one reason is that it's lousy for mathematics.
No, I don't think.
No,
well, I'm not sure it was. I think part of the problem was that I suspect a significant number of the students looked like they were logged on, but they actually weren't there.
Well, if you have a group of more than 4 or 5, it's very hard for the instructor to keep track of
Right,
people around.
I'm
Right,
very
right.
interested to hear about what the successful
Okay, so
examples are.
I'll talk about the most successful ones. But okay, so a lot of them, when they first started using this, started using it for things like just virtual office hours. I'm going to be online through Illuminate.
We had a discussion
Yeah.
section.
You know, every night of the week for the blah, blah, come in if you have any questions.
Right.
Then we had, and we'd actually took this example from something we'd done in a blended course on campus. What we did was, you know, for the most part, students are learning this content asynchronously by themselves, right? And so what we did was we said to the students, okay, so you're going to be working, you know, by yourselves, you know, or sometimes in groups, primarily by yourselves. So, and we're going to have an Illuminate session, say Friday, you know. But we need you, we want you to come up with 3 questions of something that you're struggling with, that you don't understand very well, something that you would like us to go into more depth on, right? And it was interesting, and then send that in prior to the Illuminate session. So say Thursday night, all of these, you know, emails would come in. And it was really interesting because this could just be a huge mess with everybody's, you know, struggling with something different, but it was not. I mean, as you would suspect, for the most part, 90% of the students have the same problems, okay? They're being challenged by the same content. And then the Illuminate session is based on that, okay? So in other words, this Illuminate session, I'm gonna help you out with this piece that you're all struggling with. That was very, very effective because students didn't want to come to the Illuminate. I know all of this. I don't need to, you know, this is kind of boring. But if it's like they know that they're not doing well in an area and they're not going to be able to answer an exam question, whatever, then there's a very good reason for them to attend that Illuminate session because it's really going to be something very relevant for them. So that actually has been a very, very effective use of Illuminate. And we hear it on the surveys. We run a lot of surveys in these courses, and I'll get back to that. But that's something that they find very effective. The other way that I've seen it used is actually where we have groups of students working together, and we ask them to come and present through Illuminate. So usually it's one of the group will come and actually take over everybody's machine, as you can do through Illuminate, and actually give a presentation or a discussion or, you know, lead a discussion or whatever. And that has actually been very effective. Students seem to like that mode of learning or interacting. But you know, the prior one, I think, and actually it's been picked up by more and more of our online instructors, is really basing the Illuminate session or synchronous session on issues that have been identified by the students.
These discussions, the Illuminate ones that you were describing that you said worked well, how many people were involved in any Illuminate session? I mean, was it 5 people or 30 people?
Again, very variable, but I've seen them with, you know, 30, 40, 50 people at a time in there. One of the things that they did in biology that was also very effective is we have also been experimenting using undergraduate mentors in these courses. I mean, you use that already in the NetMath program, but that has been very, very effective, where an undergraduate takes charge of a certain group of people, and that has really helped a lot, because quite often they're the ones who would jump on and help, and then, you know, the instructor role becomes one of really an oversight, making sure that students are getting the correct information. But you know, like I say, I think there are ways to handle large numbers of students very effectively. I'm seeing it, you know, happen now. You know, and I've seen very, very effective uses of Illuminate as well.